Welcome back, everyone. I'm the Knife Doctor, and this is Learn Knives Episode 2. Today, we're going to be talking about how to pick your knife if you're new to knives. Let's go. Alright, we're going to break this down into 7 talking points. And these talking points are: what do you want your knife to do? Steels and materials, price point, lock type, blade shape and grind, action, self-defense versus EDC. As always, these are my opinions based on my experiences, so without further ado, let's get into it. So the first question you need to ask yourself when trying to pick a knife is, what do I want the knife to do? Or, why do I want a knife? And there are a lot of answers to these questions, so I'm going to go over the most common ones and break them down. Number 1, you want a knife for self-defense. Number 2, you want a knife for everyday cutting task. Number 3, you think they're cool. And number 4, you have a friend, probably a guy like me, who is constantly talking to you, trying to talk you into buying a knife. If you fall under answer 1, you should probably pay attention to lock type, blade shape, and action, and obviously, self-defense versus EDC. If you fall under answer 2, you should lean more towards steels and materials, price point, lock type, blade shape, and grind. If you fall under answer 3 or 4, the whole thing should be helpful. Now on to steels. The steel is very important because it's what the blade's made out of, and the blade does the cutting. Different types of steels have different qualities about them that make them more or less ideal for certain activities. Now, I'm not going to get too far into it about the steel because that deserves a video of its own. But as a rule of thumb, for the first-time knife buyers, 1075 high carbon, 1095 high carbon, D2 tool steel, CPM S30V, CPM S35VN, CTS XHP, Bowler N690, VG10, and 154CM are good steels. 8CR13 MOV and its assorted MOV family, such as 7CR18 MOV, 7CR17 MOV, all the blah 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 MOVs, those are all made in China. AUS 8 or AUS 6 or any of the AUS family, those are a Japanese steel. Now, typically Japanese steels are good, but in this case, not so much. Now, there is a specific AUS steel that is pretty good, but, I mean, I'd have to track it down. 420, 440, and the entire 440 family, they're all bad. They're not good steels. I would avoid them. Onto materials, it's pretty much going to be the same. I'll have a dedicated video on that at a later date. But once again, as a rule of thumb, G10, micarta, and milled aluminum are good. Glass reinforced nylon can be good, but watch out for plastics. Now price point. Look, here's the deal. I like nice knives, and nice knives can get pricey. So understand if my preferences are outside of some of your price points. Because quite frankly, most of the time they're outside of mine too. So if you remember Learn Knives Episode 1, I recommended, especially for first knives, a mid to high quality knife. And those come in matching price points. A mid-range knife will run you between $60 and $100. SOG, Cold Steel, Boker, and even Spyderco have some good offerings at this price range. High quality knives will run you between $100 and $300. Look to Spyderco, Benchmade, and ProTech for some good options. I'm obviously not saying that those are the only good companies in these price ranges, but these are the best places for a person who is new to knives to be looking, in my opinion. At the end of this video, I'll roll through some specific knives that I think you should consider. Now, lock type. First of all, if you value your fingers, don't buy a liner lock or a frame lock. I have scars from both of those lock types failing on me. Back locks are okay. Spyderco compression locks and Benchmade axis locks and similar types are strong, fast, and fun to play with. The Cold Steel Triad lock is pretty much, if not the strongest on the market, but not as fun or fast, unless it's paired with some sort of wave opener. A button lock, which is usually indicative of a side-opening automatic knife, is strong enough for what it is. And what it is a gateway to auto knife euphoria. There is, of course, out the front knives, and there are assorted lock types, but as I do not recommend them for a first knife, I won't even get into them. Action. Action's a pretty simple topic. Now, we all know that auto knives are cool. Make sure it's legal to carry where you live. On a side note, if you're one of those people who thinks Glock should have a safety, you should probably just buy a manual. Spring assist is not what I prefer, but I do like a select few of them, so if you like them, go for it. I think everyone should start with a manual folder, but that's just me. Blade shape and grinds. Simply put, I would avoid chisel and convex grinds. These are hard to sharpen and do not perform well with either EDC or self-defense task. The best grinds for these tasks are flat and hollow. Now, since the shape and grind play such a big role in the delineation between EDC and self-defense knives, we are just going to roll these last two segments together. So what is the difference between an EDC and a self-defense knife? To put it plainly, EDC knives are intended to be carried on a daily basis to perform daily cutting tasks, such as opening boxes and removing zip ties and whatnot. Whereas a self-defense knife is designed to do bodily harm to an individual in the event that that individual is attempting to harm you or others. Self-defense knives are not combat knives. I will go into the differences between a self-defense and a combat knife in a later video. So what makes an EDC knife a good EDC knife? To me, the best EDC knife configuration is a drop point or leaf shape with a flat ground blade. Flat grinds help you glide through material better. They're excellent for slicing. Self-defense knives, on the other hand, can be configured in various different ways to perform well in this role. It all depends on the technique of the end user. However, if you are a novice and do not have any formal self-defense training with a knife, I recommend some sort of stiletto or dagger or something with a deep recurve to aid you in slashing. Now, I could go on and on about the differences between self-defense and EDC knives and the different aspects of both, but that also will be covered in depth in a later video. One last point to make before we wrap this up: buy something that looks cool or pretty, depending on which of those you're looking for. There are plenty of attractive knives that do the trick. Whether you're looking for an EDC or a self-defense knife, the aesthetics of the knife are important for you to really like it. I have a lot of really nice, high-quality, very useful knives, but every single one of them is very aesthetically pleasing to me in their own ways. Alright, that's it for this video, but don't go too quickly. Stick around for the credits. I'm going to roll through some knives that I would personally recommend you check out as a first-time knife purchaser. So if you like one, pause it and read the spec sheet. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.